Today we're going to be going to Platinum Until Dawn as part of my challenge to collect all Platinums in my game collection. There are 19 trophies in this game, but I already have 5 or 6 from my playthrough from last year. And if we can't reach 500 subscribers before the end of the month, then I will Platinum a game of your choosing. So let's get right into it. I would recommend checking out my Let's Play for this game because we're going to start off with getting some of the missable trophies that we could have gotten on our last playthrough, with saving everybody, including Josh, which will help us unlock 3 trophies at once. In order for this to happen, we need to go back to chapter 9 where we got Ashley killed, but this time make sure she lives. So we're going to do the opposite of what we did last time and join back with the gang. Then, to continue off for the trophy, we're going to collect Bet's watch and Hannah's journal, which will help us get a hidden cutscene with Josh and the Wendigo, where instead of Josh dying by the Wendigo will kidnap Josh and make sure he becomes one as well by eating the meat. By playing our cards right, we have to stay still in the cabin as Sam and make sure everyone leaves the cabin safely. And once Mike, who is the very last one to leave, we're going to make a run for it, which will grant us the 3 trophies in Chapter 10. After that, we loaded Chapter 10 once again and decided to blow up the lodge, which ends up killing Mike and Emily, which will give us a trophy called Instant Inferno. The last miscellaneous trophy we do before replaying the whole game is in Chapter 10, where the gang meets up back in the lodge and they're finding ways to make it out of there safely when Ashley finds a bite mark on Emily. Then we're given an option as Mike to kill her or keep her safe. That's when Mike, even though it's me, pulls the trigger and kills her for the achievement called The Exorcism of Emily. Now that we got those missable trophies out of the way, let's start with the second playthrough. We first start off with Hannah going into a room to meet up with Mike, who she has a huge crush on, but what she didn't know is that all her friends were in the room waiting for her to prank her. Of course, Hannah didn't appreciate the prank and runs off, and that's when her sister Beth went after her. She did end up finding Hannah, but something else had found them as well and forced them onto a cliff, causing them to fall, which resulted in them dying. A year later, the group of friends get a video from Josh inviting them back to the lodge, and for this playthrough, I'm going to kill every single character and collect every collectible that remains for the trophy. We first get introduced to Sam and Chris, and he decides to show off his shooting skills to pretty much impress Sam for his perfect accuracy. Then we get to meet Jessica, Mike, Emily, Matt, Ashley, and Josh, who was the one that sent us the video. We all reach the house all together. As soon as we're inside, a fight breaks loose where Josh decides that the best thing to do is to send Mike and Jessica to the guest cabin. On our way to the cabin, we find this injured deer, and I decide to put it out of its misery when all of a sudden something pulls the deer and begins to chase us. Luckily, we made it to the cabin safely, but there was one problem. Jessica lost her phone, so we looked for it around in the cabin and we found it in the bathroom. We gave it to Jessica when all of a sudden a mysterious creature snatches Jessica like she was a toy out of the window. Back at the cabin with Chris and Ashley, something gets her, and then Chris decides to check on her when all of a sudden an intruder takes out Chris out cold. Back with Mike, he finds Jessica safe and sound when out of nowhere the elevator falls down with Jessica in it. Later, Chris wakes up and is in search for Ashley by following a trail into a shed where we have to make a crucial decision of the game, which is to save Josh or Ashley. After careful consideration, I decided to save Ashley, and we get a pretty gruesome scene of Josh getting absolutely shredded. Again, we switch back to Mike heading to the sanatorium where we get greeted by a dog, and we decide to be nice and give him a bone to make him our friend. And then we blow up a flammable barrel that's pretty much right in our face for some reason, and we get knocked out by that. Now we had to turn over to Sam, who is taking a bath when out of nowhere the psycho is literally right behind her, just watching her pretty creepily. Once we find some clues to discover what's happening, Sam starts to get chased by the psycho, and we have to make crucial decisions that can ultimately affect our gameplay, which can affect us in our collectibles. Then we switch to Chris, and we're put into another tough decision that we have to either shoot myself as Chris or shoot Ashley. And for the trophy, I'm gonna shoot Ashley because it's gonna affect another cutscene in the Chapter 8 series where she's gonna let Chris die. Then we cut to Matt and Emily for the first time after not seeing them for a while, and we see them climbing a fire tower to call for help. After the call, the cable holding the tower was cut, so the building starts to fall. Somehow, both of them live, and as Matt, we try our best to save Emily, but when we try to do our best, the rest of the tower just falls, almost killing Emily in the process. Then Sam comes out of her hiding spot and finds a clue showcasing that Josh may still be alive, and that one behind all of this. Once at Sam, we find all clues and we get the trophy for the Mystery Man. Once Sam and Mike find Chris and Ashley, the psycho ends up showing themselves and takes off his mask, revealing his identity being Josh all this time. Then Mike and Chris end up tying Josh to his shed and take him to watch over him to make sure he doesn't do anything crazy. Then we cut back to Emily, who ends up living through all the fall and in the cave where she makes a run for the elevator to escape the Wendigos. After making out safe, or so we thought, Emily gets bit by one of the Wendigos and she makes a jump to the lodge, making it safe and sound. When she gets back to the group, the flamethrower guy barges in quickly to inform everybody the dangers of being there and how the Wendigos are after them, and that they have to wait until dawn to make it out of here alive. Now, knowing this information, Chris and the flamethrower guy go after Josh, who's been left unattended and alone, who they just realized that the Wendigos have taken him alive, and their plan is to head back when all of a sudden the flamethrower guy dies. When Chris makes it back to the lodge, by pure luck, Ashley just looks at him and locks him outside because if you remember, Chris decided to shoot at her with blanks. With Chris being gone, the rest of the group is deciding how to make out of here alive and to find any information of the Wendigos to see if they can kill it. When Ashley discovers Emily's bite, everyone's panicking, especially Mike, where he pulls a gun and we decide to kill her again for the trophy. Right after that, we get the trophy as well for Ashley finally snapping. Then we start chapter 9, and it's all about Mike going back to the sanatorium and teams up with the dog from the earlier chapter. And they want to find evidence of where Josh could be so that they can find the key and escape. But instead, Mike decides to aura form and blow up the whole place just to look cool, even though we don't know what really happens to the dog after that. Right after that, Mike and Sam get together to speed up the process of finding Josh, and in our journey, we find the journal that reveals the crazy plot of Hannah being the Wendigo all this time because she sorted out with being a cannibal just to survive. And she ends up chasing us, and this will help us get another trophy for finding all the clues of Hannah and Beth's death. This event creates a scene of finding Josh and telling him the truth about his sisters, which triggers a special moment of the Wendigo sparing Josh's life. Later at Sam, we find our last totem, which gives us the Knight of the Totem Hunter trophy. We save Sam and Mike because we still need to go back for the one clue that we missed in Chapter 8. Then we go back to Chapter 8 to find the missing clue that will help us unlock the Fateful Descent. Last but not least, we replayed Chapter 10 and got everybody killed, including Josh, which will help us get this is the end trophy and just the platinum trophy. So let's talk about my experience with Planaming Until Dawn. It was really fun. It was quite easy, to be honest. I probably could have done it in one playthrough, but in my the first time I played it in my Let's Play, I wasn't looking for the collectibles or any of the missable trophies. So that's what kind of push me back a bit. But if you decide to do it all at once, the collectibles, all the missable trophies, I think you could get it pretty quickly. And it was really fun going back and playing it and seeing all the deaths in the game. And I do recommend getting the platinum because it's a pretty easy platinum to get, and it's not really much of a challenge unless you miss one collectible and you have to go back to the very first chapter of the game. But besides that, yeah, it was really fun. I totally recommend it. And that'll be all for today. I hope you have a good day or good night. And I'll talk to you guys later. Take care and peace. Bye bye.